Alright guys, welcome to this YouTube video today. This is our second tutorial video on this channel, and today we are going to be looking at Python variables. So quickly, this is our IDE, PyCharm IDE, and we are going to be creating a new Python file. We're going to create a new Python file, so we're going to name it Python variables. Let's name it Python variables, and okay, we're in. So quickly, let's configure. Now, why are we configuring this? This is for running our project. So when we come to this place, we'll click on add configuration, then we'll say add new configurations. We'll go to Python. It will open up this page. You don't need to go to this name. All you need to do is go to the script part. You go to the script part, you quickly locate this Python script we just created, and you click on OK. It will update the other necessary things. You click on apply and you click on OK. Now we can run this code. Quickly, what is Python variables? Python variables can be looked at as names that are given to a memory location. We can also look at Python variables as containers that stores variables. If you have any questions, please remember that you can always go to the comment section and ask, and I will always come and answer you. But try as much as you can to follow. So a variable could also be said to be name placed in the memory where a programmer can store a data and can retrieve that data later with that variable name. Let me give a basic example. If you have a refrigerator and you store some apples and banana in that refrigerator. Now, your refrigerator is a storage, and in that storage you stored, probably you put your apple in probably the right side of the refrigerator, you put your banana at the left side of your refrigerator. Now you allocated space for those fruits, and probably when going out you want to tell your friend, hey, I kept some apples in the fridge and some bananas in the fridge, I want to take them later. Either maybe you want to give it to the person or you don't want to. You can easily tell the person, okay, look, at the left side of the fridge I stored my apples there, and at the right side I stored my bananas there, please. Now you see that you made reference to the exact position where you stored them. The same thing happens with Python. It's just that Python is not a refrigerator. It's a program that runs on a machine. And now when we want to store data in this particular machine, how do we do that? We use variable names. So when you store a variable in your machine, you have to give it a reference point. Yes, I think that's a better way. A reference point to where that particular data is stored. For example, I could give it A is equals to, let me say 23. 23 is the data I'm trying to store here, and A is the variable name. Now, it's always very important that when you are working on a program, assuming you are working on a program to calculate the speed of a car or a speed of a moving vehicle or a speed of anything, it's always good to use numeric variable names. What do I mean by numeric variable names? Variable names that aid remembrance, that helps you know what this code is about. You are the one that coded it, yes. You're the one that wrote the program, yes. But it's good that you give reasonable variable names. For example, if I want to program for speed, I already know that distance times time will give me speed. So I can simply say distance is equals to 7 and time it's equals to 3, and speed it's equals to distance times time. Now, even if someone who doesn't know about Python, who doesn't know how to code, sees this, he will know that, okay, this is a program talking about speed, because he has seen the distance, he has seen the time, and he has seen speed. Now, you must understand something. Our machine has no business. It's fine with any variable name you give it. It's fine with it. So the reason why we are using these reasonable variable names is for our own sake and for other programmers' sake. So we can easily just say it's a good practice to use reasonable variable names. Assuming if I use something like this, it's equals to 9. My machine it's not its business it doesn't bother him. This variable name to him is very okay, it's very excellent. It can use it. But the question here is, can you always remember this? In the future, when you come back to this code, assuming you wrote thousands of lines of code, could you always remember what this program does? So that's why it's always good and always important that we use numeric variable names, whereby even if in the future we come back to that code, we can always know just by reading through it, can always know what the code is about. You understand? And if you're a first timer, someone who is just coming in and looking at your source code, looking at your script, you can understand that okay, this is what this person is trying to achieve on this code. And if the person is someone who is seeking to improve on your work, you can always improve on your work easily. All right, I hope you understand that. And quickly, let's look at some do's and don'ts when working with variables, because we don't just variables are not just declared like that. So first of all, a Python variable must start with a letter or an underscore character. Secondly, a Python variable name cannot start with a number. It can't start with a number. A Python variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. We've said that before, and we said that variable in Python are case sensitive. That means if I should use small letter n and capital letter N, they mean two different variables, different locations are allocated to it. And finally, but not the least, we say that we can't use reserved words, keywords, for variable names in Python. So I'm going to be treating that within this video, keywords. I'm going to be showing you keywords. But quickly, let me just tell you that in Python, the current Python we're using at least, this is Python 3.10, it has 35 keywords. What are keywords? We're going to be looking at that shortly. But just know that when declaring variable names, you can't use keywords. These are reserved words that Python understands them. When you write them, Python understands what they mean, and they are given specific roles to play in the Python code. So quickly, let's look at what we mean by these variable names, how we can declare them, and let's also look at the type of errors that could generate when we use the wrong ones. So name is equals to Samuel. That's my name, very beautiful name. And we can also say it can start with an underscore. So just like that, we say name is equals to David. That's my junior brother name, very lovely guy. And we can also say name is equals to Jessica. That's my sweet sister's name. Okay, now all this, as I said initially, name is a variable, Samuel is a data, the same with this, David is a data, name, Jessica is a data. So all these are legal terms for us to declare variables. They are legal. So it doesn't have problems with that. That means if I should simply use the function print, function print is used to see what is contained or see what you're actually coding. So if I say print name, comma, print underscore name, and also print name, you see that this will print without generating any errors. Look at it down here. You see print Samuel, David, Jessica without errors. Now, what does this mean? If I should, does that mean I can't use numbers? Let's try using numbers as our variable names. 12 is equals to 34. Now, if even without writing the printf, if I should run this code, it will generate an error. Why? Because numbers can't be used as variable names. You can't use it to start a variable name, but you can use it within a variable name. So I can say name 12 is equals to, let me say, Henry. You could do this. This is very legal. You can say print name 12. So the only thing is that you don't start a variable name with a number. Are you together? I believe we are. It's very easy to understand. You can't start it with an any operand, like saying, you can't start it with something like this. Variable names can't contain this. It can't contain any symbol. It can't contain it. It's wrong. It's wrong. The only symbol that you're allowed to use when declaring a variable name is the underscore. That's the only one that is acceptable by Python. Okay, so quickly, let's look at these keywords that I initially talked about. Let's look at these keywords. What are keywords? As I said before, keywords are reserved words. There are some predefined and reserved words in Python that have special meaning. That means this means it could be if for conditional statements, while for loops. There's also a condition for conditional statements too. We have for loops, and so on. There's so many of them. So within the course of these tutorials, we are going to be treating many of them. I would say we're going to be treating many of them. But quickly, how do we get to see the keywords that are available in our system? We simply start by saying import keywords, and we simply say print keywords dot kw list, and this should give you all the keywords that are present in the current Python that you are using. So I think there are some Python versions that have, I think, 31, and there's some that has 33. So depending on the one you're using, but this one has 35 keywords. 35 keywords. So none of these keywords can be used or must be used for variable names. And another thing about keywords is that all keywords are in lowercase. All keywords are in lowercase. That is, all the letters are in lowercase, except for, if you can look closely at my screen here, you will see for false, which starts with a capital letter, for none, which starts with a capital letter, and for true, which starts with a capital letter. That means only these three is allowed to start with a capital letter. That means if I should write any other one that starts with a capital letter, or they just use it as a normal variable name. So all keywords must start with small letter. They are all lowercase, except for these three I mentioned: false, none, and true. These are the only three keywords that are allowed not to have capital letters, small letters all through. So remember, as we said initially, you do not use keywords for variable names. So quickly, let us look at object identity. That means these data we're looking at, how are they located, where are they located? It's just for visuality, nothing more. So let's quickly, if we say, let's use the ones we already have. We have distance, we have time, we have speed. Remember, I told you initially that once you declare a variable name, a memory is allocated to it. So for us to see that, we can easily say print id, and we're going to impute the particular variable name. Let's say distance. Let's look at what is the location for distance. Now, if you look at it, distance, the ID where it is located in is 17303363260064. That's the location, and you're going to be seeing that it's different from where time is located in. If I say print the ID for time, you see that it's located in a different place, that it is different. So this is just about object identity. I'm just trying to show you that these objects are really being allocated memory spaces. They are not just flying around the machine. They are being given a particular place to stay at, so that whenever they are called, whenever you need them as a programmer, you just pick it out, and so you see that even the machines are properly organized with their dealings. Now, I also want to talk about how do we assign variables. There are different ways to assign variables to make it easier for us. As when you want to assign just one variable, we can simply say that name or age. Let me use age here. Age is equals to 24. Now, this equal to sign is called an assignment operator. So it's not the normal equal to that we know. It's called an assignment operator. That means assign 24 to this variable name. So whatever location that this 24 gets to end up in, whenever I want to call on this particular data, I'm going to call on age. So you're going to assign 24 to age. So that's what the equal to means, assignment. So this is just one way to declare a variable. Assuming we have multiple variables to declare and we want to give it one particular data, we're going to use it in different places. Assuming we have A, we have B, we have C. How do we need to start doing A is equals to 3, and then we come again and say B is equals to 3? You see that it gets slow. So one very good way we can do this is just by saying A is equals to B is equals to C, and all of them is equals to 3. So you're going to be seeing that by the time I print A, B, and C, they're going to be giving us all 333. Look at it down here, 333. So that's how to assign multiple, that's how to declare multiple variables. But what if I want to declare multiple variables and still give them different data? I can simply say A comma B comma C, and I will now give them 1 comma 2 comma 3. Please note, when doing this, you must understand that if you are declaring 3 variables in the left hand side, you must declare 3 data to be assigned to them in the right hand side. Please do not make that mistake of declaring any part lesser than the other. It will pop up an error. So we must also understand that it's also positional sensitive. That means if A is the first variable name, that means 1 being at the right hand side is the first data and it's going to be assigned to A. B is going to be assigned, which is the second one, second variable name is going to be assigned to the second data. Same with C. So by the time I come here now and say print A, print B, and print C, we're going to see that we're going to be having different. So we see you have 1, 2, and 3. So these are some few techniques in which we assign data to variable to make work easier for us instead of start typing multiple things. You see some of us now might not have uses for this, but when we begin to write bigger codes, longer codes, you begin to see that some of these things are useful because you won't have time to start declaring A is equals to this. So you just easily list out all your variables that you're going to be needing and you assign them, especially for those who are good in programming, whereby you make plans before you program. So you're going to be knowing the exact number of variables you're going to be at least going to be needing in your program. So quickly, I want us to also look at something before we actually call it a day here. I want us to look at the types of variables we have. We have so many types of variables, I think around 6 of them. But we're basically going to be looking at 4 of them here, which are the integers, the float, and the string, and the boolean variables. In the future, we're going to be looking at tuple, lists, and the others. So let's quickly start. Let's look at integers. Just as the name sounds, some of us who were good at maths when we were in school, we know that integers are whole numbers. They are whole numbers, whether positive, whether negative, these are integers. Are we together? So if I simply say A is equals to 5, 5 is a whole number, 56 is a whole number. So this is an integer variable. Now, how do we know that this is an integer variable? First of all, one very easy way to know is that we can just hover our mouse around it. Sometimes it do pop out what they are. Okay, it's not doing that now, but one other way we can use, one other function that Python has made available for us to use is the type function, whereby when we say print type, that we feed it in with the variable name that we want to print its type. Quickly allow me to comment this out. We use the asterisk, the naira sign to comment. What comment simply means is that our ID does not get to run those codes. That means when it gets to those comment line, what happens? It simply jumps those line. So it's going to run age is equals to 24. It's going to run all of this, but when it gets to the commented parts of it, it simply jumps it. I hope that's clear. So quickly, let me print this type. You're going to be seeing it's going to give us class int. Now, int, which is int, is the short form of integer. It's the short form of integer. So it's simply trying to tell us that our a is an integer variable. It's an integer variable. So it could be positive. Remember, it could be negative. So if I say b is equals to minus 45, We can easily say print the type for B. So you're going to see that it's still going to give us an integer. So that's good. So quickly, let's look at float. Let's look at float. The float variables. Now we look at the float variables. The float variables are simply the numbers with the point. We can call them not whole numbers. We can say they are not whole numbers. They have some fractions in them. So it's easily the ones with the point. Are we together? For just elementary understanding, we can simply say that C is equals to 2.3. These floats. Now remember, it could be 2 decimal place, 3 decimal place, and so on. So these are float numbers, whether positive, whether negative, they are all float numbers. So if I want to get what type is this, I simply say print type C, and if I should do this, I will get a float. Look at it, class float. So this one actually prints class float to us. Are we together? So quickly, I also want us to look at string. The string variables. So what are string variables? These are letters. And how do we get to distinguish them? How do we get to know string variables? They are always in a double quote or in a single quote, just like the one we have here, which is a single quote. So any variable that's a string is either in double quotes or is either in double quotes or they are in what, single quotes, like this. So I'm going to be using single quotes here, and I'm quickly going to type spam. So let's see what type of variable is this. Print type, and we have G. We'll run this. We have str, and str stands for string. So it's a string variable. Yes, at this point we're going to be looking at the Boolean variables, which is the last variables we're going to be looking at for this video. The Boolean variables are just two. The Boolean variables are just two, which is the true or the false. Remember in the section of the video I talked to you about the two keywords that could start with a capital letter, which is the true. The three keywords that could start with a capital letter, which is the false, the none, and the true. So at this point we're looking at two of those keywords, which is the true and the false. These are the only Boolean variables. That means something is, whatever data you're looking at or whatever you're looking at could either be true or it could either be false. So if I could simply say John, a variable name, is equals to true. Remember, it can't be all capital letter, because if it is all capital letter, it sees it as something else. It's not what it is. It can't be all small letters either. It must start with what? Capital letter true. Sorry, please forgive my spelling. True. So even from the color, it should tell you that okay, this is actually special. And I could say that what should I say here? Paul, Peter and Paul. Nice one. It's equals to false. So you see, so it can be all capital letter, it can be all small letter. How it should be is the first one should be capital letter, the ones following it should be lower cases. So how do we get the type? We can simply say print type. We put in the variable name, which is John. Then print type. I'll put in the variable name, which is Paul. So quickly print this out. So you see the last two is the bool. What bool simply means is the Boolean variables. The Boolean variables is either true or false. These are the only two Boolean variables we have. Are we together? Now, please permit me, before we end this video, I would like to talk about casting of variables. Now, what do I mean by casting? It's just simply changing data types. Change data types of a variable. We can change from an integer to a float number, because in some of our programs we will be needing it. As we advance in Python, there are codes whereby maybe what you are getting it from your source, or wherever you are getting in data from, could be in string form, and they are numbers, and you want them to be multiplied or added or subtracted. Of course, you cannot add or subtract letters. You cannot add or subtract strings, text. You can't do that. You have to first convert them to either an integer or a float before you can further on with your calculation. So how do we do that? It's very simple. It's very, very simple. how we can easily do that casting of variables is just by simply, if assuming I have a, it's equals to 45, which is an integer. Simply when I say print type, a. Let me quickly comment all of this. Comment this so that it doesn't print out, so that we get better always. Okay. Now, if I should run this code now, you will see that this type is an integer. Now, what if I want this to be in float or in string format? What do? I'll simply say a now is equals to float a. And at this point, if I should print the data type, which is a, I get a float. So if you look at it, the first line, which is the integer, the second a is what? Is a float. I believe we are together. If you have any questions, you could always go to the comment section and ask. What if I want to convert it to a string? A is equals to, I just use str and it's put in the variable name, which is a. And then by the time I print type and I put in a and I print it out, you see that it should give us string. So it's very easy to cast variables. So depending on the kind of variables you're getting, you need to cast them to actually get what you're looking for. So quickly, let's look at, there's something I want to say before we end the video. While programming, we must be careful with our variable names. If, for example, we declare a variable a as 23, and while we are coding, through the course of our coding, we change this variable name to 7. And let me show you something. If I should print a at this point, it should give me 23. And if I should print a at this point, it will give me 7. So we must be careful on how we must, what I mean is we must be sure that we want to change the variable name before we change it. Just like this, we must be sure that we want to change it before we change it. So if you look at it, at this point is 23. If for any reason we want to change it to another data, we must be sure. Instead, we leave it that way and use a new variable name. So guys, that's it for this video. I hope you learned. If you have questions, please feel free to ask on the comment section. And also, I would like you to comment from what country you are watching from. And I would like you to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's a huge bonus to me, and it will encourage me to do more videos. I love you and see you in the next video.